back to class. Today we're going to discuss the Romantic period. It's going to be a rather short video. I'm having technical difficulties with our video system here. So you're going to have to go online and watch the videos for yourself. But anyhow, let's get right into it. The Romantic period is estimated to be from 1820 to 1900. The general characteristics of the music during the Romantic period compared to the Classical period, because they pretty much use the same style in most of their music, but the difference is the Romantic period, they started using tone color a whole lot more. They started specifically using certain instruments so that would create an individual sound or a particular sound. They used greater dynamics. They increased the size of the performing groups, just like earlier, only more so they can get a lot louder. Greater pitch ranges. Remember we talked about Beethoven wrote his music so that with so distance in the pitch range that people complained that was impossible. Well, through his music they realized it wasn't impossible, so more composers started increasing their pitch ranges. We are going to study, since most of the music was similar to the Classical period, there was one style or technique that came along during the Romantic period called the art song. Definition for an art song is a solo voice and piano. So it's one person singing and a piano playing the accompaniment. The characteristics for an art song, there are three types. You could have through composed, where the music starts at point A and changes and is different all the way to the end of the song. No repetition. Strophic, which means there are several verses to the song, but it's the same music on each verse. Modified strophic is where we take strophic and use the ABA form. The music in the first verse and the third verse are the same. That's why it's A at the beginning and the end. And in the middle, section B, the music changes, totally different music, and then it goes back to the first verse. We're going to talk about an art song by a composer whose name was Schubert. Schubert is known as the most prolific composer of art songs. That means he wrote a whole bunch of a ton of them. The one we're going to study is the Erl King, as an example of through composed, which means the music will start at the beginning and just tell a whole different story all the way to the end, musically wise. Schubert also used a lot of word painting. And I'm going to discuss that with you. The story of the Erl King, I'll just read it to you. This is page 266, and you're going to need to read page 267 also. Page 266. The Erl King is one of the earliest and finest examples of musical romanticism. It is a musical setting of a narrative ballad of the supernatural, by Goethe. They're using poetry. Goethe wrote this poem called The Erl King. A friend of Schubert's tells how he saw the 18-year-old composer reading the poem. He paced up and down several times with the book. Suddenly he sat down and in no time at all, just as quickly as he could write, there was this glorious ballad finished on the paper. Goethe's ballad, in dialogue almost throughout, meaning speaking, tells the story of a father riding on horseback through a storm with his sick child in his arms. The delirious boy, highly feverish, has visions of the legendary Erl King. And the Erl King is basically what we consider the Grim Reaper. The Earl King was hiding in the woods and chasing the father and the boy. The King of the Elves, who symbolizes death. Okay, so the father's on horseback and has his child. Here's a word painting. Remember word painting? Words reflect the music, or the music reflects the text. Not Garrett, but Schubert used this driving rhythm from the beginning of the piece almost to the end to exemplify the running of a horse and how tense the moment was. Here's what it sounds like. All the way to the end, and then when they get to the where they're going to stop to try and get the boy some help, of course the horse stops running. He also uses, it's one person, but there's three parts, three people in this song, in this poem. The little boy's voice is written in high notes. The father's voice is written in low notes because of, boys speak high and men speak low. The Earl King is written in a different key, totally, to sound a little mysterious and happy, actually, because the father and the son, remember I told you minor keys are sad, major keys are happy. Well, the father and the son are sad, of course, but the Earl King's happy because he's about to get this young boy and take his soul. So go ahead and read the English narration on page 267 of the Earl King. And I will put a link to the video so that you can watch it. The link I used does have subtitles so you can follow along in the story. And okay, and that's it for what we're going to discuss in the Romantic period. Now remember, your test is going to cover the Classical and the Romantic period on the same test. So I'm just going to touch on a few things. Remember the Age of Enlightenment, the years associated with the Classical period, the classical form, how many movements and how are they related, Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Don't forget about PDQ Bach Symphony, and you have a written assignment to turn in. I think that's already been expected. And then the Romantic period, which I just covered. And on our next class, we will begin the 20th century. And when we get done with the 20th century, then we're going to move into reading basic music. With that said and done, ladies and gentlemen, class dismissed.